Ramchand was very impressed by this story. Impressed means was very satisfied, admired this story. Okay. It was okay for Chuhu because she was a girl mouse. But what if he went near the kerosene stove and never grew a mustache like his father's when he grew up? Now, see, children, it's a child's imagination. What he has seen from the childhood, he has seen that his father is having a mustache, right? So now he is actually scared that if because Chuhu was a girl and she has no whiskers, so that is fine. Girls don't have mustaches, so it's okay that she doesn't have whiskers. But if he, being a boy, he goes near the stove and he burns his mustaches, and then he never grew his mustaches when, like his father, when he grew up, then what will happen? So he was highly scared of the story. Okay. Sometimes his mother made a face with a lump of dough using a matchstick to make two dents for eyes. Two dents means the hollowness, okay? A hollow place where hollow place on the hard surface to make the eyes. We put make it one for a nose, then again another hollow place for the nose, and then a series of dents in a smile shaped line to make a toothy smiling mouth. Toothy means showing large new teeth, okay, number of teeth, numerous teeth, okay, toothy means, and series means number of similar dents. When she gave him the dough and told him to make the most beautiful thing in the world, he rolled the lump round and round in his chubby fingers and thought and thought and thought. Okay? So, chubby fingers means soft and round and plain fingers. Okay? So, when she gave him the dough, he sat at the corner of the room and kept on thinking that what he could make out of that dough. What was the most beautiful thing in the world? It was his mother, of course, or possibly his father. But he couldn't make them out of dough. So he kept on thinking that what was the most beautiful thing in the world? Was it his mother? Then he said, of course, my mother is the most beautiful thing. But my father is also the most beautiful thing of my world. But he couldn't. But he then thought that he could not make them out of the dough. Besides, they were not really things. Then he said, they are not things, they are human. He rolled the damp piece of dough round his hands, thinking hard. So, what is damp? Damp means a bit wet. Okay. So, he kept that damp piece of dough in his hand and kept on thinking, thinking, and thinking. Then Ramchand's father called out to his wife from the shop, please come here. He shouted to his wife as courteously as one could shout. So Ramchand's father called his wife to help him in the shop. And what is the meaning of courteously, beta? Politely, okay? Ramchand's parents were old fashioned. Old fashioned means they used to think like old people, like previous days people, traditional, old thought process they had. They never addressed each other by their names. They never called out each other by their names. Okay. She turned the stove off, put it and the matchbox safely away on an upper shelf, and threw a sharp, anxious glance at him. What did she do? She was always afraid of her son. Okay. So, what she did? She switched off the stove, put the matchbox safely, and then looked at Ramchand at a very anxious, at a very surprised, worried glance. Glance means look, okay? She was terrified about the stove. I told you she was always fearful about the stove. She had heard so many stories of children having accidents with them. So she often heard about stories in which children often heard them in the by coming near the stove. But ever since she had told him about Chuhu, he seemed to be keeping his distance from the stove. So since she spoke to Ramchand about Chuhu, he kept safe distance from the stove. She hadn't even planned it. It had just came out when she had finished making a perfect little mouse and had realized it would be difficult to give it whiskers. Okay. So now did she actually plan about Chuhu and told the story about Chuhu to Ramchand? It was nothing like that. It automatically came to her mind. Okay. So what she what happened was that he was actually making a something out of the dough and a mouse was made, and then she realized that it is very difficult to give whiskers to the mouse, so she made a beautiful story, an imaginary story out of that mouse, and named it Juhu, and which actually worked for the little boy. She smiled, untucked the pallu. Untucked the pallu means often you will see that the ladies tuck their pallu near the edges of the pallu, which hangs loosely. Okay, so what she did, she untucked the pallu of a sari from the waistband. Waistband means near the waist there is the band on which the pallu is tucked. So she loosened it from there of her petticoat, spread out the pallu, adjusted it around her shoulders, and looked at her son. So she was, was sitting and working when her pallu was tucked in with and the way near the waistband of her petticoat. Now what did she did? She untucked the pallu and then she adjusted around the shoulders and looked at her son. He was still absorbed. Absorbed means he was still busy with that particular dough, in the piece of dough. Feeling he was safe, she went out to the shop. Now, when she felt she was contented that her child was safe, he went to the shop. Apparently means as far as you can see. Okay, as far as you can see. Her husband needed to help to look for a new tin of black paper that he had misplaced. So it seemed as if his husband has misplaced a tin of black paper, and he called his wife to help him to find that. They found it after about 10 minutes, and Ramchand's mother went back in to continue with her cooking. So they were able to find that black tin after nearly 10 minutes, and she went back to continue with her cooking.